horse owner can feel really discouraging, especially if you don't have access to an indoor arena and you live in a place where winter really appears. The ground is frozen solid and it feels like anything horse related is completely off the table. And if you live somewhere like I do here in Alberta, winter isn't just a few chilly weeks that you have to get through. It's months of cold, short days and conditions that oftentimes you can't just push through. But if you're also like me, you don't want to just kick your horse out for 6 months until spring finally arrives. You still want to make progress with your horse, even though it may not be the same sort of progress you would make in the summer months. If you've ever been wondering what you should be doing with your horse in the wintertime, or feeling guilty because you're not riding and training and progressing the way that social media makes you think you should be, then this video is for you. Today, I want to walk through what working with your horse in the winter can actually look like when you don't have an indoor arena. And more importantly, how to shift your mindset so winter doesn't feel so terrible. So it stops feeling like a setback with your horse and feels like a season where you actually can still make progress. The first thing we need to do is reframe what winter is and what it's not. Winter is not a failure of consistency. Winter is not lost progress. And winter definitely does not mean that you're falling behind. One of the big mistakes that I see horse owners make is trying to make winter look like the summer months. Just colder, same expectations, same training pressure, and same timeline. But horses aren't machines, and horse training is not linear. Winter is a maintenance season, not a performance season. It's a time to protect your horse's body, mind, and soundness, not force process and progress at all costs. And when you live in a climate where the ground is frozen, the footing is unpredictable, and daylight is limited, pushing through just to do something can actually do more harm than good. Reframing winter means that understanding rest, lower intensity, and intentional simplicity are still forms of good horsemanship. It's the season where we can focus on keeping horses comfortable and moving naturally, maintaining their physical health instead of stressing their joints, reinforcing calmness and trust and routine, and setting them up to come into the spring sound, willing, and ready to go. When you stop measuring winter by how much you ride, and instead start measuring how well your horse comes out of the winter season, everything changes. Before we talk about what you should be doing with your horse in the winter, we should be talking about when you shouldn't be doing anything at all. Frozen ground, uneven footing, deep snow are not just inconvenient, they're genuinely dangerous. Riding or doing circles on hard ground can do a number on your horse's joints, as well as their tendons and ligaments. And the risk isn't always obvious in the moment. A lot of injuries from winter riding may show up weeks or months later. I made this mistake several years ago when I was riding Junior out in a pasture. It was a big open hay pasture, and as is typical in an Alberta winter, we've had patches of really cold, getting lots of snow, but then some warmer days where maybe a chinook comes through, some stuff melts, and then we get more snow that lays on that melted ice. Perfect storm. I was out riding Junior in this hay pasture, and from what I could feel and tell, the ground looked okay. I decided to do some smaller circles, wanting to work on my barrel racing technique. We were, I'm pretty sure, just moving at a trot, and he went down. He went down, and I got off safely, and Junior just laid there. And I immediately panicked because I thought, oh my gosh, what have I done? Like, he's hurt. Why is he not immediately getting up? He kind of looked at me and then tried to get up, and it was too icy. And my heart, oh my gosh, he did get up. We were both a little bit sore. He did end up landing on my ankle, so my ankle was sore for a bit, didn't break anything. And he was just a bit body sore, but that could have been so much worse, and I definitely learned my lesson from that experience. And groundwork isn't automatically safe either. Asking a horse to move in tight turns and moving quick and transitioning can be just as dangerous in hand. And sometimes even worse, because I think with groundwork, we may not consider how our horses are balancing or if they're warmed up enough. We just get out there and do groundwork, making it potentially even worse for your horse in the winter. If the ground is frozen or slippery or anything like that, everything is basically off the table. I would say good horsemanship is knowing when to do less or when to do nothing at all. No training goal is worth a tendon injury or a fall or any sort of physical harm to your horse. And choosing not to ride or work with your horse on a particular day may not be a sign that you're lazy, but actually a sign that you're being a responsible horse owner. So, what can we do with our horses in the winter time? And I'm here to say it's probably actually more than you think. But it's also probably different than what social media thinks it should look like. Winter is a great time for simple hand walking in safe areas. I do that a ton with my horses. Grooming and just hands-on body checks with your horse, especially if you keep blankets on your horses, grooming them, looking at their body is a really good idea. Working on calmness and patience and just manners on the ground. And just observing how your horse moves naturally. I think we get so busy, we don't just watch how our horses moves, and if there's any indication of maybe they do have something off with their bodies that needs to be addressed. Even just being present with your horse, brushing them, checking their legs, picking their feet. You should definitely be picking their feet because they can get balled up snow so easily this time of year. Just spending quality time with your horse. That's how you're going to build a relationship with that animal. If conditions allow, straight walking, again, no tight circles, learned from my mistake, are super beneficial for your horse. Walking is going to support circulation, joint health, and digestion without the more intense impact of any more aggressive work. Winter is also an ideal time to focus on management. Nutrition, body care, hoof care, and just your horse's overall comfort. These things definitely don't look exciting on camera, but they are definitely the foundation of long-term soundness. You're still doing something, it just looks different. I also lean a lot on groundwork. If I'm confident that the footing is good, groundwork is definitely on the table for me. Groundwork is a huge reason why my horses stay in pretty decent shape throughout the winter. And it also keeps them mentally tuned if I'm not able to ride. But the key difference here is how the groundwork is done. Winter groundwork isn't about drilling, and doing countless circles on frozen ground. No. It's about being purposeful and about doing intentional, thoughtful work that keeps both their body and their mind engaged in the work that you're doing. I focus a lot on straight lines, transitions, responsiveness, and softness. Things that are not going to require a whole lot of speed or tight turns, but still build strength and coordination and work on our communication. Groundwork done well reinforces balance, body awareness, and respect. It keeps horses mentally sharp without the physical wear and tear of, again, riding on frozen ground. This is why my horses don't lose everything over the winter months. They stay responsive, they stay fit, and when spring comes, we're not starting right from scratch. We're just adding more layers to what we've maintained and potentially built up over the winter. And I will just say, it's not groundwork. I don't see it as a backup plan to everything else that I'm doing with my horses. When done right, it is a fully legitimate, very valuable training tool in its own right. One of the hardest parts of winter as a horse owner The cold is terrible, but another really hard part is the guilt. That feeling that you should be doing more, you should be riding more, that you should be training, that your horse and you're wasting time. You're wasting your horse. Someone with more resources would be doing so much more with your horse. But that pressure usually comes from comparison, not from what your horse actually needs. Horses do not operate on our timelines. They don't know what month it is. They do not care how many rides you logged this week. What they care about is safety, comfort, consistency, knowing that they can trust you. Letting go of the I should be doing more mindset means stepping back and realizing what is most important at the end of the day. A horse that comes out of winter sound, relaxed, and mentally refreshed is so important. Instead of viewing winter as a season that you have to survive, I want you to try and reframe it to see it as a reset season for both you and your horse. Winter is a chance to slow your pace, reassess your goals, notice what's working and what's not. It's a time to let our bodies rest, our minds settle, and create space so that when spring comes, you're not starting from a place of exhaustion or injury. Some of the best progress that I've had with my horses is not from times when I've done more. It's come from knowing when to do less. I know for myself, I would push really hard spring, summer, and fall, riding every horse 6 days a week, pushing, drilling constantly. By the time the first snowfall came or by the time the ground froze, I was ready to say adios to my saddle. I was ready for a change. I was completely burnt out. I didn't want to stop doing everything with my horses altogether, but I definitely would need a change at that point. I needed a reset, just something to do differently with my horses. And I think they kind of felt the same as well. But then the same thing happens when we come out of winter. After a season of doing groundwork as I can, riding where I can, by the time spring hits, I am so ready to get back into the saddle full time, start making progress towards my goals, and really working on progressing my horse's training. Mother Nature has beautifully built in seasons of reset. It is perfect the way it has been set up. And I think if that wasn't the case, if those seasons weren't naturally in there and didn't force my hand, I think I would constantly be pushing, riding hard, drilling, training with no end in sight. And I honestly think I would just burn myself out to complete exhaustion. So the fact that Mother Nature has these built-in seasons, I think is kind of a blessing in disguise, as much as I wish I had sunny and 75, 365 days a year. But I will admit, with all of that being said, would I build an indoor arena in a heartbeat if I had the resources? Absolutely. I would be on the phone with contractors immediately if I had the resources to build an indoor arena. But that's not the case. And I'm assuming for a lot of you, that's the case for you as well. We're trying to make lemonade out of lemons here. But I would say even that sounds dramatic. Yes, the cold, the snow suck, but I'm still in this wonderful place where I can still go out and work with my horses, even though it doesn't look exactly the way I wish it would. I still am blessed to have these animals in my life and be able to work with them in some capacity every day. I think we very much lose that in the race of everyday life, and just how blessed we are that we have these animals in our lives who allow us to ride them and all of that. It is such a blessing, and we can't forget that even on the coldest of winter days. I'm really trying to see winter as an opportunity to do different things with my horses, and as a way for me to get very excited for when spring gets here and we can be running on all cylinders again. I just want to reframe it in a more positive light instead of going through the dark and the cold being miserable, because winter is too long here for me to be miserable for the entire season of winter. With all of that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you haven't already, please be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel if you haven't. You can follow me everywhere at Strong in the Saddle. And until next time, remember, it's always a good day to ride.